Art Global, a program about modern Kazakh culture in the global world. The best works of modern Kazakh culture in literature, theater, cinema, classical and traditional music and fine arts are performed at the world's notable venues. Moscow. The flow of cars is going through the urban arterial network. The sun that rarely shines in the city appears in the sky. The sun is shining through a dense veil of grey clouds and upon the faces of hurrying strangers, and everyone has his or her own story of the city. Among the millions of stories, we are interested in one story that is closely linked with Kazakhstan's capital, where the story of this episode's guest began. Pavel Romanenko is a new generation viola player whose performance is distinguished by exceptional skills based on the quality of the musical sound he plays. He is the concert master of a viola group at the Moscow State Academic Symphony Orchestra under the leadership of Pavel Kogan. Destiny brought Pavel to Moscow. The musician entered the Tchaikovsky Moscow State Conservatory in 2013, and from that moment, his life has significantly changed.
Конечно, для музыканта жизнь в Москве она очень приятная.
Of course, life in Moscow is amazingly wonderful for a musician. The city is a big musical world. There are around 20 to 30 concerts held every day with the participation of the world's renowned soloists. And probably this fact attracted me to move to Moscow and not to some other city or other country. Moreover, Yuri Abramovich Bashmet, our first viola player, has been living here. In our guide to the life of the musician living in two capitals, you will learn a story about the language of music that unites all the people in the world. Traditionally, stories are told from the very beginning, so we will share the events that took place 26 years ago. The musician was born in 1992 in Zelenograd, former name of Astana. I started playing music quite early. When I was 5 years old, there was a story in our family that when I was 3 years old, I came to my parents and said, "Mom, Dad, I want to play the viola." It was a surprise for my parents because they did not understand why I decided to play viola and not piano, for example. They were really interested why I chose to play this exact musical instrument. Classical music classes were not so popular at that time in Zelenograd. The culture of classical music was not even developed. There was a music school where my mother taught musical theoretical classes and the Regional Philharmonic Society. And after a while in 1998, the Kazakh National Academy of Music was opened, initiated by Kazakh President Nursultan Abishevich Nazarbayev. At that time, Ayman Kojabekovna Musakhodjaeva became the head of the academy. Pavel joined the viola class at the Music Academy under the direction of Professor Alma Abatova at the age of 5. He studied there for the next 10 years. As Pavel admits, he was taught the proper hand techniques that every beginner should master at this age. This experience was useful for him.
На самом деле, я себя как музыканта мыслю с 15 лет. До этого мой жизненный период.
Well, in fact, I have thought of myself as a musician since I was 15 years old. I believe my life was some kind of preparation for what will happen next. My musical life began exactly the moment when I first took the viola in my hands. I will never forget this moment. I remember every moment as if it happened yesterday. I was at the University of Arts and played the viola. I practiced scales. There were major string positions and I have rather big hands, and in general it was problematic for me to play it. And then a professor of viola came to me and said, "Listen, you are such a big boy and you have big hands. Why do you need this viola? Come here, I will show you something." So he took me to his office, gave me another viola. At that moment, I understand what was my main goal in life. I wanted to master playing viola perfectly. Some say it's love at first sight. That's exactly what it was. And basically, my new life stage began at that time.
Говорят, любовь с первого взгляда, вот это именно так и было. И, в принципе, вот это новый мой жизненный этап, который начался в то время.
This man was Professor Nikmetola Karimov. The professor instilled the absolute love for music in Pavel and revealed his inner potential.
Когда я перешел.
When I started playing viola, there's endless hours of classes began. I was quite negative towards this routine until I was 15. Then I remembered these hours of study with great joy. It was the time when I started looking for that sound that would distinguish me from others.
Тот звук, который будет меня отличать от других.
The next step was competitions. Pavel Romanenko participated in a number of musical competitions, both in national and international. He became a laureate in 6 competitions.
Несмотря на то, что я довольно часто играл на конкурсах,
Although I often participate in these competitions, I do not feel very positive towards them. Music and competition between musicians are different things. But as a rule, musical competitions help to build your character. Basically, this aspiration to prove to myself that I'm worth of something has forced me to take part in these competitions.
что я чего-то стою, меня двигало на эти конкурсы.
During his studies at the Kazakh National University of Arts, Pavel took part in the 7th International Viola competition held in Moscow. He met his idol, Yuri Abramovich Bachmet, for the first time there.
Я пересмотрел все существующие записи на YouTube, переслушал.
I watch all existing compositions available on YouTube. I listen to all audio recordings on classic online website, on social network, and other sources. And of course, I dreamed of meeting him, even just to look at him once. Honestly, I did not expect for more. The 7th International Yuri Bachmet Viola competition, Viola Masters, was held on January 2013 in Moscow. And I took the courage and went to take part in the competition. It was very interesting to see the musical life of Moscow, the musical viola life of Moscow. And of course, I was delighted to meet the outstanding musicians like Yuri Bachmet and Roman Balashov, the founders of the Russian Viola School. It was exciting to get acquainted with many foreign viola musicians at the competition. I reached the semi-finals in that contest. I was awarded a special prize. But then, a very big event happened to me. When I received the special prize diploma, Yuri Ivanovich invited me to continue studying in his class.
Меня отметили спецпризом, но тогда произошло очень большое для меня событие. В момент вручения мне диплома о специальном призе Юрий Абрамович пригласил меня продолжать учиться в его классе.
6 months later, Pavel went to the Tchaikovsky Moscow State Conservatory. The honored artist of the Russian Federation and teacher of the Yuri Bachmet Viola Department, Roman Balashov, was present at the entrance examination.
Я очень хорошо помню свою первую встречу с Павлом, когда он приехал в Москву поступать в Московскую консерваторию. Вот, конечно, он хотел.
And I remember very well my first meeting with Pavel when he came to Moscow to enter the Tchaikovsky Moscow State Conservatory. Of course, he wanted to study in Yuri Bachmet's class. But we have a rule that a professor or his assistant will be present at examinations and auditions. I remember a boy who came in training pants and slippers with a shaved head. He didn't look like a musician. I guess I thought that he was just walking along the street and came to the conservatory by chance. Fortunately, my first impression was wrong. He performed Bach's Chaconne for solo viola, and it was amazing. I understood that he knew so many things. No one told me about him and his talent. The nature of his talent was revealed from the first 8 minutes. Then we had classes. Later I called Yuri Abramovich and said, he is our student. We should invite him to our university.
Мы позанимались, я потом позвонил Юрию Абрамовичу, сказал, Юрий Абрамович, клиент наш, можно брать.
Pavel came to Moscow not as a beginner student, but as a working specialist. The musician performed as a viola concertmaster for 4 years at the Eurasian Youth Symphony Orchestra by Sitova Opera and Ballet Theatre and Astana Opera House. He was a famous soloist in Kazakhstan. It was clear that he doesn't only have education experience in Moscow.
Высочайшие стандарты артистического мастерства.
The highest standards of artistic mastery. This is all about the oldest symphony orchestra in Russia. The Moscow State Academic Symphony Orchestra was founded in 1943. The brightest representatives of musical culture performed in this orchestra at different times. Our compatriot Pavel Romanenko also joined this wonderful team in 2014.
И наш соотечественник Павел Романенко.
Замечательный музыкант, который дается в полной мере тому делу, которым занимается.
In my opinion, Pavel is a wonderful musician who invests himself fully in his works, and he's glad to do what he loves. This helps him to move forward. He's very interested in his profession, and for him, it is not only a source of earning money, but the way of existence. His whole life is focused on his profession. I mean that the profession itself is his life. Moscow State Academic Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Pavel Kogan, is one of the 5 oldest concert orchestras in Russia. The orchestra is well known for its large-scale programs consisting of symphony, opera and vocal symphonic classical works, and compositions created by contemporary composers. There are 12 viola players, including me, in my group. My duty is primarily to ensure that all the musicians of my ensemble perform absolutely the same way. When all the musicians play the same way, this makes them a special team.
Концертмейстер, на мой взгляд, это человек, который прежде всего должен быть.
In my opinion, the concertmaster is a person who first of all should be straightforward. As a rule, he should be straightforward to achieve a fusion of sound, which is what the conductor wants. In order to achieve this, first of all, it's necessary to know what people feel and how they understand things. First of all, they should be able to read your signs. They should anticipate your gestures.
И даже более того, просто предвосхищали твой жест.
In addition to working in the orchestra, Pavel is engaged in teaching activities. Today, he has a lesson with a young student from Kazakhstan. She came here, thirsty for new knowledge, just like Pavel. When you play, it's necessary to remember that improvisation is of great importance. You should perform as though you are standing and creating this piece of music right now. This is Bach's improvisation written directly. You should practice improvisation. The improvisation should be a part of every young musician's training. Camilla, stop bouncing. Vibration is not necessary in Bach's music.
Я сейчас учусь на первом курсе. Самого Пашу я узнала.
I'm now a first-year student of the Moscow State Conservatory. I learned about Pavel when I was a second-year student here. I then learned that he's a very good violist and found out where he studied and decided to enter the same class as him. Now we have one big friendly class, and it helps us a lot.
Тот же класс, где учится он. Вот сейчас у нас один большой дружный класс, и он нам очень помогает.
At one time, assistant professor of the Moscow Conservatory, Roman Balashov, made an invaluable contribution to the development of the young musician.
Он как губка впитывает любую информацию, которую ты ему предлагаешь.
Pavel showed good results while studying. He absorbs any information that you offer him. I'm delighted to teach him. He's very inquisitive and organized. This quality is really very rare in musicians. I've been working at the Moscow Conservatory for more than 20 years. Usually, a student is either very talented or very hardworking. Persistence and hard work always wins in 75% of cases. As for Pavel, he has a unique character. He's talented and hardworking at the same time. Although Pavel spends much of his time working in Moscow, the musician tries to visit his native city Astana as often as possible.
У меня в Астане вся моя семья живет, да.
Сколько часто вы ездите?
My family lives in Astana. How often do you go to Astana? Well, of course, I try to go there as often as possible. But when family is far away, sometimes it's not easy. But I come to play concerts quite often. It's always more interesting and exciting to give concerts at home.
Интереснее, ответственней.
Pavel had the last performance held in Astana in February this year. He performed at the Kazakhstan Central Concert Hall. The concert was titled Ayman Musakhodjayeva Presents. The event was dedicated in honor of the 20th anniversary of the Kazakh National University of Arts. The famous alumni of Kazakh National University of Arts and our compatriots who work at the best world venues gathered together to perform on the stage. Pavel Romanenko also played as a guest soloist. Pavel is a passionate admirer of music in the ensemble. As a musician, he regularly organizes concerts of chamber music in Astana and at the best concert venues of the city. Pavel plans to organize the Summer Chamber Music Festival in the capital of Kazakhstan in the near future. The main idea of this festival is to introduce our Kazakh audience with the masterpieces of chamber music that is rarely performed in our country. Some of the works will be performed for the first time at this concert. It's quite difficult to talk and write about musicians. You cannot tell a story about the person based on the chronicles of his life. But music can tell a lot about the person. Music speaks louder than words.